go back on the same track. And so it was really good, except honestly, I found it hard doing the paddleboard on the way back after I've run because you kind of get shakes in your legs, and I was like, damn it! And it's kind of nice paddleboarding there because you can run back and it's kind of nice. So that was I definitely found that a better way than running and paddleboarding back. But either way, it was pretty good. It's a pretty good setup to do exercise.
It looks like it's shoulder.
Yeah, but I feel like it's more
stabilizing muscles.
I actually would get like toe cramp. I'm like, oh, I've got toe cramp. So I feel like it was just almost like so it's the more stabilizing. Because there's not a lot of resistance when you paddle.
It's just the.
I feel like in kayaking you'd use more of your like shoulder and arm thing, but I didn't feel it as much. Yeah, it's good.
I destroyed myself coming in on a wave. Like the it's kind of gone now, but the wave it didn't look like a big wave, but I was like, oh, it's fine.
Well, on the paddleboard.
Yeah, but then I was too far forward on the board, so the board just went like this, and I was on my knees, and I just like grated down.
No.
And it was so embarrassing. All these people saw, and there's blood just pouring down my knees.
No. Yeah, because that's the thing actually. Yeah, because we didn't do a lot of we didn't take the paddleboard out so much. Hi, I'm just here. Is that a good angle for you?
On the esplanade.
All good.
Oh, blood and everything everywhere. And then as soon as Lucy stopped and said, oh my God, that looks like a real tumble. Because it was. At high speed, well, not high speed, but you know when you're running and you fall, you pick some real momentum up.
Yeah, I've got a good graze up here because I went down the bank of a trail. So I just tripped over a root and just went skidding down, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was really early on in the run. So again, same thing. I ran past a lot of people, and it was just like blood pouring down my neck. And I did this like, tried to do like the cherry, like good morning, and they're like, oh hi.
No one stopped or even waved.
I think it's just the blood that freaks people out, eh? Like with your knee, it would have just been like the blood gushing out,
was
and
just like making it look even worse. And
so true.
Paddleboards are so big. If they get between
I know.
the wave and the shore, you're between the shore and the paddleboard. The paddleboard just.
And they're actually quite heavy, eh? They're kind of like they're big things, eh? It's good. Was your paddleboard a blow-up one?
Nah, my dad's like he stuffed both his knees, so he can't do anything. So his paddleboarding like his thing now. So he's got two, and one's like a cruisy flat water one. Yeah. And one's a kind of surfy.
Yeah, cool. Okay, yeah. So that would be good for the waves and stuff. Yeah. Because I didn't take the paddleboard out when we went to Coromandel. We didn't take it up that way, so I feel like because we have a blow-up one. Yeah, and I wonder if it just wouldn't be that great on the waves, you know?
Yeah, I've been on the blow-up one in the waves.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that good, eh?
We did up in Cook's Beach, and there's a guy up there who does it, and it does it on the waves.
Yeah.
So it wasn't not big waves.
It's good.
I wonder if
like
it's
nice rolling.
Yeah.
Kind of
and once you get out from the breaks, you much you won't miss so much.
Flat.
Yeah.
Is it too boring when it's completely flat?
Nah,
it's really
it's
nice.
pretty
And it's
good.
good because you've got this vantage point so you can see, like I saw a stingray go past.
Yeah.
Saw a few flounder in the estuary. And,
It's great, eh? It's a good time. Yeah, it was good. Stephen, my husband, his aim was to try and nail a handstand on it when I was out. So that was a summer project. He managed to get a headstand, so he went down a level, but nailed that by the end of it, which was pretty impressive. So that was pretty cool.
It's amazing how, even just sitting on one
oh
foot
man,
on them,
like
immediately
definitely. So when he nailed that, it was pretty impressive. Like we did stages. So there was one point where I was like literally in the water holding the board, like try and get some balance, and then like I would slowly let go. It was pretty cool. And then these kids saw us, and they were trying to have a go too. Came and joined us on the water. I was like, oh, it's pretty good. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Are you on? Oh, we're on Facebook live already. Oh.
here again tonight.
Yeah, I think it goes on till early tomorrow morning.
Yeah. I'll stand up.
It is.
And I think he's
It's just for our ears.
All right. Oh, well, I feel like everyone's quite far away. No, don't feel obliged to come forward. If you've got a good shot, that's absolutely fine. Look, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for making the trip again out to the Wairarapa to join us today. We've had a really productive full-day session today, a combination of both planning for the weeks to come, the months to come, and the year to come. As I flagged with you yesterday, a key part of what we wanted to do here over these 2 days we're together is talk about what we do, what we are working on as a government, our priorities beyond the 100 days. And of course those priorities extend beyond just labour. We also have our coalition partner and confidence and supply partner as well, and those coalition agreements which give us a good steer around those priorities. But we've had that discussion here today. The next steps for me as leader is to take those forward, work with those partners on finalising some of the key things that we will use to hold ourselves to account. Part of that discussion, of course, is how do we help the public hold us to account too? We've got a really good example of the way that we want to do that in, for instance, our child poverty legislation, saying we want to make this a priority for government, saying what we'll do about it, and then saying how we'll help the public to hold us up to standard on that goal. We want to do that in more areas as well. That does mean we will, in the longer term, absolutely be replacing those better public service targets. Our view has always been that those targets didn't give us the systemic change that we need for some of those big issues we as a country face. And in contrast, a target like child poverty is a much more fundamental focus for this, the kind of government that we want to be. So we will be working on those over the coming weeks and months as well, but just to flag early on, we will be doing things differently in that area. Going forward for the next week and a bit, tomorrow we're meeting as a cabinet, and tomorrow I hope to announce in my post-cabinet stand-up decisions that will be made around the inquiry into mental health services. On Wednesday as a team we'll be travelling to Ratana, as I've said yesterday, an incredibly important year for the Ratana movement, and we're looking forward to being a part of the first part of those celebrations, commemorations that start that will be taking place on Wednesday. On Thursday, Cabinet committees are meeting. We will be looking then to flag what we will be doing in the employment area that was a part of our 100-day plan. I want to be clear, the majority of that employment work are in areas where the last government made changes that we disagreed with. So that's the predominant nature of those legislative changes we'll be making there. Whilst I won't go into the detail of them now, I will rule out that fair pay agreements are not a part of that piece of work. We long flagged that that was something we felt we needed to spend extra time working alongside both our union and business communities to make sure that we get that right. So we're putting that on a longer track. Friday, I will be travelling to Dunedin for a day of events and activities. On Monday, Auckland Anniversary Day, Laneway will be taking place. I will not be performing, I will be speaking. Which probably speaks to a transition in my roles. I didn't know Laneway was known for political speeches, but there you go. Then we'll be reconvening for Cabinet on Tuesday, and we'll have a number of issues then that we'll be picking up to conclude our 100-day plan. By Thursday, of course, I will be travelling Wednesday, I'm in Christchurch as well, and then giving a speech to wrap the 100 days a little bit early. On Thursday I travel to Waitangi. The reason I wanted to mention that is I will be spending more than 5 days up at Waitangi. That is a bit unusual, but we've done that very deliberately. Waitangi is always about more than just one day. It's about our relationships. It's about our relationships with Northland and the people of Northland, the communities of Northland, but it's also about our relationship between Crown and iwi and Māori generally. And as part of that, I want to make full use of the time when people are gathered there to meet together as a government that wants to form strong, open, transparent relationships. This is a fresh start for us, and I have to say that Waitangi feels like a fresh start in terms of the way that it looks like the commemorations will be happening up there this year as well, and I'm really looking forward to it, and we'll have a big part of the team with me too. So, questions?
Okay, I'm just going to get this one out of the way first. Did you give away your bag?
No, I did not. And I know in defending myself we could get into a whole other conversation, but no, I did not. I imagine we're going to play this game for quite some time now, aren't we? I'll be clearly articulating all of my words.
Just then on the employment legislation, and you said that the fair pay measures weren't part of that. I mean, is that, you're not sort of saying now whether there are any other things that are on the table for further discussion with business? I mean, do you think this will go down? Will it cause too many ripples with the business community given their state of mind at the moment about confidence?
No, I don't believe so. These are things we have long flagged. They've long been part of our agenda, and as I say, at the time they were introduced, we raised the concerns that we had. So none of this will come as a surprise, particularly because actually our spokesperson, our minister, has been working alongside the business community on the measures that we'll be bringing forward. We know that there are some other elements of the package around employment more generally, like fair pay agreements, that will take more work. So we've been very deliberate to say we're going to take the time on those.
And how will you do that? Is there going to be a sort of a formal framework for consultation with business? What's the plan to get them on board?
Yeah, actually we've always had those solid relationships, particularly our Minister, Enlise Galloway, as I said, has demonstrated in the way that he worked through the so-called Hobbit legislation, the kind of relationships he's going to build and the way he wants to work collaboratively. So it'll be more of that. And in terms of the way he wants to structure it, I'll make sure that he shares the way that he wants to develop that work program.
In mind for that fair pay?
Not one that at this stage that I'll share. I'm certain that the Minister, because he's working through his priorities for the year, I'm certain that he has one.
On the targets, how do you view your targets being different to the current VPS targets?
Yeah, as I've outlined, I mean, there's some examples. For instance, we were critical of past targets on rheumatic fever that only sat with the Ministry of Health. That meant that the Ministry of Health focused, in order to get rheumatic fever down, simply on swabbing children. The moment you take the swabbing away, rheumatic fever potentially soars because you never get to the critical issue. overcrowded damp housing. The best way I could describe what we want to do, we want to deal with the overcrowded damp housing. We want to get to the root cause of some of these really entrenched problems that we have. Another example would be completion of NCA Level 2. Yes, the goal set a rate of completion, but actually did that change the number of NEETs we had? The number of young people who weren't going on to anything after that? So we do want to be ambitious. We want to look at how we can set them without creating perverse incentives. That's why we will take a little bit of time.
On the child poverty package and the coding error at Treasury, if the final Treasury estimate comes out and shows that you're not going to hit the 88,000, that you're going to hit less, fewer people, will you spend more to bring the package up to your initial ambitions?
I think you'll find with child poverty, we've said that we want to be very ambitious, both ourselves. We matched what was the then government's target around 50,000. We said we wanted to go beyond that. 88,000 was never a target, it was just a projection. So what we will do with this package is still reach more than 380,000 families. What we don't have a clear picture of is how many of those families have children in poverty. So the package is still a solid package. The package will not change. All we'll know is how much further we need to go to hit some of the ambitious targets we have around child poverty, but that was always the case. We set ourselves ambitious targets.
Is that another way of saying there's no fiscal room to enlarge it?
No, it's another way of saying it was a bloody good package.
But you still can't.
It would be a misinterpretation to believe 88,000 was the target. That was actually just a Treasury projection. The targets actually for child poverty we'll be releasing alongside our bill so that people can have their say on what they would like to see us striving to achieve. But if you look at things like, as an example, the UN's SDG goals, it's about halving child poverty. Well, that package is going to do it.
But does this indicate, though, that you're under some pressure on this budget?
Oh, no, it indicates we're under pressure on our own ambitions and goals. You know, we're the ones that said we wanted to make good inroads on child poverty. Those projections will just tell us how far we've got with this initial package. But I have to say, it was a very targeted package, and no matter what, I'm confident that we'll be making a bigger dent than the last government.
Can we expect a very specific target on child poverty as part of your targets?
Well, that's the legislation requires it. It'll require it of us and any future government. Did you want to say anything on the coding?
No, not particularly, just to endorse that point that this was the projection that Treasury made of the impact of our package, Richard, and so our package stands. Treasury have made an error in their projections. They'll come back to us with whatever that number is. But our ambition to reduce and eliminate child poverty will go on. No one ever thought it would happen in a year. No one ever thought it would happen probably in 3 years. But we'll keep going.
What was your message to the Treasury Secretary about that error?
I don't want to say that in the kind of company we're in now, Patrick. No, I was very, very disappointed. I expressed that disappointment to the Treasury Secretary. I asked him to undertake the work to redo the model as quickly as he possibly could, and made clear that for us, this was an important projection, and we wanted to get it right.
Poor old Grant was the one that told me. So,
just on the child reduction targets.
Yes.
So at the time that you reveal your legislation, are you also going to reveal what your targets are?
Yeah, look, thereabouts. My goal is that the targets are there for the select committee process. That's the part where people will be spending time putting in their submissions on the framework, and I think that's probably the time where they'll want to give the government a bit of feedback on the targets we're setting. So it'll be allow enough space for there to be that to happen in conjunction.
Just on Waitangi, or do you want to go on that? So the decision not to go to Te Tii Marae, that was, I presume, not your own decision?
No,
or?
No, not at all anything to do with us. That was a decision, as I understand, made by the Waitangi National Trust and the Commemorations Committee, as I understand it. So,
are you relieved though?
Oh, look, I would go to Waitangi happily either way. I would have been there. I've been every time I've been, it's been TT, I would have been there either way.
You'd be giving us more of a sense of where you're getting to on water, both quality of drinkable water and also rivers and streams
Yes, I hope to get an update from our Minister, Minister Clark, when we return. We asked that he give an update to Cabinet in the new year around progress against the numerous recommendations that came back to us as a part of the report. Also, our Minister for Local Government's been working on this area as well, so I expect an update when we resume.
National policy statement review on freshwater bodies?
Yeah, national policy statement, again, an area for our Minister for the Environment. Just to acknowledge that he has had some significant parts of the 100-day plan that he's been working on, and so my expectation is that we'll see that come through once we've cleared that through. Things like the foreign buyer ban. He's also obviously been working quite hard on the America's Cup bid, so I imagine we'll be getting an update on that soon too.
Would the government consider more money into gastric bypass surgery, public money?
Oh, look, I asked for a bit of advice on that, reading a little bit around the demand for it over the past, reading as I have over the past few days about the issue. We have seen an increase in surgeries. My memory from 2007-8, they were 120 roughly, to over 400 now. There is strict criteria, and for good reason. Yes, it's a costly surgery, but it has the potential to have a real benefit if we're making sure that we're putting all of the work in with those individual patients before that surgery occurs, and it won't be right for everyone. So I think having that criteria and that work in place first makes good sense.
So you're happy with where it's at the moment? You wouldn't consider looking at that or putting more money into it?
I'm always happy to get advice on whether it's working well, but I think the reason there is such a robust process is probably a good thing. At the same time, we need to make sure that there are other support mechanisms in place because it is a very tough surgery for anyone to take on. We've got to look at what we're doing around other preventative and primary health care.
Is the advice that you're getting that it is working well at the moment?
Yeah, I think the advice I've had, which is early days, nothing in writing as yet, is that there is, with any surgery, pluses and minuses to this option, and it's quite difficult to get the balance right. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
What are you pointing at?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that.
They are like the comfiest shirts.
Yeah,
Have you worn them?
yeah.
I fully swear by them.
Yes, so we have a custom mark.
Yeah. And they're very trendy.
They're very trendy.
Very good.
Right.
Thank you.
Okie dokie. Thank you.
Oh, do you? Okay.
No. Yeah, sorry. I just.
Talk soon. Bye bye. Ciao. Photos. Yeah.
Oh, is that okay? 3 1 sort of the other on the other same thing. So we should go through dinner. Yeah. Does we go through that door? The room just further down the hall. Oh, yeah. Anyone else needs to go?
Are you going straight back, May, or are you going to file from here?
I'm going to file quickly and then go back.
There's a room here.
I can take you around. I can take you around.
Yeah, cool, okay.
Look,
I can actually feel the sweat dripping down my back.
I was just standing by the fan over there, like I feel my back was just sticking.
I know, same.
Oh, yeah. Go around first, take them around to the room they can file. We're going to go around this way.
No.
So I think Audrey.
Are you heading off, mate? Pretty much. Flat? Trying to use it while you can charge it while you can?
Yeah, I was going to follow you, mate.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, probably
You
going
right,
to
Monique, or?
Yeah, I'm just going to dump some stuff at the car.
Okay.
Oh, but I need to know the agreement.
Yeah.
It's going to go through.
Okay.
I'll just come with you. We'll just go through what you need.
Yeah. Want to hand it here?
Grab
something more? Give me the tripod or something.
That would be wonderful.
Target.
Thank you.
Goal? Target.
So when they knew Donald Trump was unlikely to come back, you also